on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another press conference reaction show. And my goodness me, there is a lot going on today. Of course, it is deadline day. And on top of that, as I mentioned, there's just a lot going on right now when it comes to transfers. There's a game at the weekend, a little game. Don't know if you've heard of it. Manchester United versus Liverpool as well at Old Trafford. And a lot going on when it comes to the transfer window, when it comes to people being available, people when it comes to all this kind of stuff. So we're going to get into all of it. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Jadon Sancho, isn't he going to be leaving Manchester United? That's one of the questions Erik ten Hag has been asked. On top of that, we've got updates on Ugarte. Of course, he's not registered, but Ten Hag has kind of let slip on the reason why Manchester United did indeed try to sign him, or why we are signing him, rather. Also, he's hit back at Alan Shearer about some criticism of Marcus Rashford, some analysis of Marcus Rashford too, saying, that there was a specific reason for why he took him off, and also saying that Alan Shearer's analysis was stupid analysis, is also what he said, which I'm going to be honest, I did quite enjoy quite immensely. And on top of that as well, I think when it comes to Alan Shearer just in general, after what he was trying to do after the FA Cup final, you know what? Fair enough, because Alan Shearer after FA Cup final was nothing short of a disgrace. Him and Gary Lineker, the way they were questioning Erik ten Hag was ridiculous. Right after you won a massive trophy too, I was like, oh, what a dick. Was interested to hear him hit back about that. To be honest with you, before we get into all of these quotes, just in general, I thought as a whole, when it comes to this press conference, I thought it was such like an attempt at gotcha from a lot of these questions. Some of the questions, I mean, we haven't done the press conference the last few weeks. They've been so late and we've been just kind of covering it in the full view. But some of the questions that were put across to Erik ten Hag in this press conference today, my goodness me, are they looking for a headline with some of the things that they're asking? It going as far to be like, do you think Arne Slot's had it easier than you? And you're going, well, I know what you're trying to do there. You're trying to get Erik ten Hag to say, oh, yeah, Arne Slot's had it well easier than me. It's really easy being the Liverpool manager. You're already trying to get the headline with what you're trying to do there, really, is what you're actually trying to do there. And some of the stuff that, again, they were asking him in this press conference was just ridiculous as well. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, well, do you think also it's better to face them early than it is in 6 months' time? Because 6 months' time they'll be better, but early, probably a better time to face them. So you're already starting... You're already starting by saying if you do win at the weekend, it's because you faced Arne Slot early. It's not because, you were good enough to win the match and you were the better team on the day, right? So it's better to catch them early. Oh, and on top of that, he's had an easier job than you, right? That is basically what you're saying. I was sitting there going, I cannot believe they're asking these kind of questions, trying to make him slip up like that. Again, the nest of vipers that is the Manchester United press pool is just insane, honestly. It is mad. And you can see, in fairness to Erik ten Hag, with some of these guys, continuing on from last season, he has had enough with some of these people because he is pushing back on some of these things, going like, these are stupid questions. I know what you're trying to get me to say. I know what you're trying to get me to do. Piss off, basically, is sometimes his response of just like one word answers, like, what do you want me to say? It's so, honestly, that's why I always say, at the beginning of every season, I said it last time, these press conferences are really, really weird. You get journalists that ask questions with a headline in mind. They're not in there to really do any journalism most of the time. They're largely in there to make people, to try and slip someone up. That's what they're really there to do. Slip someone up, make you say something that you didn't really say. That will get twisted. Look at the first game of the season. Remember that? Well, we're not really ready because players have come back like, they're not ready. Manchester United aren't ready. Erik ten Hag, you're failing at your job because the team isn't ready. Meanwhile, all the other managers said the same thing. Like Pep Guardiola says the same thing. You don't hear anything about it. But that's what they're there to do. It is just insane. Omar says, 4 minutes late, Owen, not acceptable. Well, there were a lot of quotes, and you know me, I wanted to get the graphics ready, so that's what the plan was. So let's get into some of these questions. Let's get into what he was asked, and we can kind of take it bit by bit when it comes to all of this, because some of it, again, was just mad. So, beginning with, he was asked, Erik ten Hag, Scott McTominay, can you update us on anything? Well, it was actually Simon Stone, so it was, Eric. McTominay, he's in Naples. It's not completed yet. It's not been announced. But can you update us on anything? And Erik ten Hag went, clearly you know everything. It's not completed yet, so I can't give you much more of an update on that. Do you expect it to be completed? He says yes, but I can't confirm that. Okay. It's like, oh. And to his point, he went, well, you already know everything, so what's more for me to actually sort of tell you as well, really. The next part was about Jadon Sancho. Now, this is interesting because we did the Europa League draw stream, and there's been so much back and forth today about Jadon Sancho. What is going on with Jadon Sancho today? Because last night, the Juventus move, seemingly it's stalled or it's at a standstill. It's not going to happen. They've pulled out. Haven't they pulled out? Then today, you hear Chelsea, deal is on. Sancho's given Chelsea the green light. So naturally, Erik ten Hag was asked, what's going on with Jadon Sancho? And he gave a bit of an interesting answer, because I thought he would go into the press conference and say, basically, we'll see. We'll see what happens. There are discussions. Let's see how it plays out. But actually, he was kind of the opposite, suggesting that really he could stay. So he was asked about Jadon Sancho. He said he is playing with the squad. We are happy with him. We need a good squad. We need depth. We have to play many games until January. After the break, we play every third day, so we need options. He was referring to, obviously, with the Europa League, with Europe and the extra games that come with that. So we'll need options. And then Simon Stone said, so you expect him, or will he stay? Do you expect him to stay? Do you expect him to still be here? And Ten Hag said, as I know, yeah. So surprisingly, when it comes to Jadon Sancho, Erik ten Hag, unless he's playing coy, which he could, or maybe he just knows as much as you and I, which is, I don't know, what's going to happen with Jadon Sancho. Yeah, it feels like at one point, Juventus is going to happen, it's not going to happen. Then it's like, well, Chelsea could happen, but as we spoke about earlier on, so much does need to happen for Jadon Sancho to move to Chelsea, i.e. Raheem Sterling still needs to find somewhere else to play, and it looks less and less likely that that place is going to be Manchester United, by the way. I think Carve from Sky was saying earlier on today that if Sterling, he's basically got two options, it looks like now. He's either staying at Chelsea or he might go to Arsenal, and that Arsenal one is hardly sort of guaranteed. So at this point, Erik ten Hag saying he expects Jadon Sancho to stay at Manchester United, and if you believe him or not, he's saying that he's in the squad and we'll use him kind of situation, which is something that KG and myself did speak about this morning. We did speak about this morning when on the live episode of the Trinity. Be sure to check it out. Is that actually, if Jadon Sancho was to stay, if you look at both sort of situations with Chelsea and Manchester United, with Sterling and Sancho, because they're somewhat similar, but not exactly the same. If Raheem Sterling stays at Chelsea, he is not playing until January. He will not be named, seemingly, in their Premier League squad, and he will be training every day by himself. So, yeah, that's just going to be Raheem Sterling. Now, Jadon Sancho, I know people say, well, he hasn't been reintegrated back into the team. He hasn't been reintegrated back into the team because he hasn't played, or hasn't been named in any of the matchday squads for the Premier League thus far, which is fair. But he's been reintegrated back into the squad. He has been training. He has been in first team training this week. He travelled with the squad to Brighton, even though he wasn't selected. And largely it seemed that he was left out of that Brighton squad because of this transfer speculation surrounding him. And I guess that he did come on in the Community Shield, of course. Was it 10 minutes or so? He took the penalty in the penalty shootout that he missed. But it's not as if he hasn't been involved. So is it out of the realm of possibility that Jadon Sancho could stay? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we'll get into this a bit later on, but Dan Ashworth was asked, the Manchester United sporting director, at the Europa League draw. He was asked about, if there's anything going on. He's like, well, I've got some missed calls. We'll see, basically. And Erik ten Hag did say a little bit later on in this press conference that, well, Dan Ashworth has said everything there, isn't it? We'll basically see. But as far as I know, I don't really know, as I'm planning for him to be here, basically. I'm planning for him to be part of the squad. And I do think if the window shuts and Jadon Sancho is still a Manchester United player, I think he uses him. I don't see a situation that Erik ten Hag doesn't use Jadon Sancho. Now, Jadon Sancho won't be starting every single week, but I think you'll start to see him be more on the bench and start to be integrated back into the team on a match day. But who knows what's going to happen between now and the end of the day. I mean, anything I think is literally possible. I've said it all the way through the transfer window. So with Sancho, it's firmly up in the air. But we do, and I think this is where Erik ten Hag is being honest, and you always have to sort of try and separate fact from fiction with him and these pressers. But this is where I do think he is being honest, whereby we have got a lot of games. We've got, because of the extra games in Europe and because of the hope to go far in cup competitions, we'll need to rotate. We'll have a lot of games. He will be used. He won't be a starter, but he'll be used. So we shall see. We shall see. At one point it feels like, it's going to happen. He's going to go to Chelsea. Then it feels like, nope, he's going to stay. So that's the latest when it comes to Jadon Sancho, is that it's all up in the air. What did they say previously? A live situation. That's what it feels like. Omar says, as a community, we'll let you off. Wow, my tardiness is being frowned upon by Omar there. So that's with Jadon Sancho. That's the latest with him at the moment. Again, I think that is going to change a lot over the next few hours, certainly. Rasmus Hojlund. Now, Rasmus Hojlund, we did see actually some pictures on social media, some videos on social media, back out on the grass. We know that he's got that injury. He's going to be back after the international break. Melissa Reddy asked with Hojlund, says, when will he be back? Ten Hag said after the international break, but when after the international break? We'll see how it develops during the break to get him match fit. It will take a while before he is up. He has to build some fitness, because the point that he was making, and it is like a good point when it does come to Rasmus Hojlund, is that not only, of course, is he injured, but he got injured right at the beginning of pre-season, so he essentially didn't kind of really have one, did he? Because he missed all of it because he got injured in the first game. So it will still take some time. I think here you can kind of see Ten Hag maybe sort of tempering expectations, sort of suggesting if you think the first game back after the international break that Hojlund's going to be back in the team, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much. He might be a little way after that, but he's back out on the grass, so hopefully it won't be too long after the international break when indeed Rasmus Hojlund does return. Now, he also spoke about Scott McTominay, as you would expect, and he continued by saying very complimentary and very positive things about Scott McTominay. Once again, as you would expect. Now, he was asked, Ten Hag, obviously the scenes yesterday with McTominay arriving in Naples. Was it a nice thing to see that he got such a warm reaction from the Napoli fans there? He had a smile on his face. And Ten Hag said, I'm very happy for him and for us, but it's mixed feelings, because I would have preferred not to lose him. He has Manchester United in his veins. But he also went on to kind of discuss this exit and the sort of rules that kind of push Manchester United in this direction by saying he was so important for our team. He was at Manchester United for over 22 years, but unfortunately it's the rules. You have to discuss the rules to do sales, and obviously homegrown players, academy players, bring more value. It's not the right thing to do, but for everyone, for all parts, it's a good deal. For Scott, he's happy with it. Of course, for Napoli, a very good player, but also for us. And to be fair, with Ten Hag, I think he is actually being there very honest. I don't think that's just lip service. I don't think he's just saying that for the sake of saying it. He's always been very complimentary about Scott McTominay, and I don't suspect he wouldn't be, because there are points last season where Scott McTominay came in pretty clutch in a really bad season for Manchester United, and in a season where Erik ten Hag could lose his job. Erik ten Hag isn't the first manager to talk about the PSR rules and sort of say that, it does feel a bit uncomfortable, really, when you do think about it. The fact that with the way that PSR rules are now structured, it's basically sort of forced teams to use their academies for different purposes now, isn't it? Now, academy, developing players for your academy isn't necessarily to put them into the first team, isn't necessarily to, improve your squad or build upon your current squad. It's to develop players, to sell them, to make the most money at a later date that can actually financially benefit the club. which is a bit strange, isn't it? It's a bit strange. It almost goes against, particularly at Manchester United. I mean, other clubs, maybe that's been the model for quite some time. But at Manchester United, you know, the sort of DNA of the club is to bring those young players in, put them into the first team, understand the club, understand the culture, and it kind of forces Manchester United, when you do look at sales this summer. I mean, we've got a lot of players come through the academy that we've sold this summer, whether it be McTominay, whether it be Willy Camboala, whether it be Hannibal Mejbri, whether it be Mason Greenwood. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot, and we're not any different in that regard. I did see Enzo Maresca, the Chelsea head coach, said something similar, saying that, you know, and I think he was partially right here when he was asked about Chelsea selling players, and he said that it's not just a Chelsea problem, that's a Premier League problem. And I do believe that is actually quite accurate, in that it does feel quite strange, doesn't it? Going that, again, nowadays it's just, let's bring these players through the academy, to try and integrate them into the first team, and then they can be, you know, this club through and through. No, we just need the money. We just need the money to kind of replace them with someone we're going to bring in from another club, but we're going to have to get rid of these academy players to do it. It just feels a bit gross, doesn't it? It feels a bit gross. But when it comes to the McTominay deal, I do think, as he said, it's a good deal for United. It's a good deal for McTominay. I think he reached the end of his cycle at United. I don't think there's any more for him to really do. Definitely not get a new contract or anything like that. I think that it's a good deal all around. We are live, so let's see if we've got any more updates. Some people saying some breaking news here. That is some breaking news. That one was very surprising. I'll click the button.
Breaking news.
Now, in the last couple of minutes, this is coming from Sky Sports News, so I think this probably comes from Dharmesh, and he is saying that Manchester United have explored a possible move for Carney Chukwuemeka from Chelsea. Now, would this be linked to the Jadon Sancho situation? You would logically think so. I mean, just looking at those quotes again from Dan Ashworth saying, we're pleased with the business we've done so far. We've got a couple of conversations going on. We'll see what happens. Perhaps, this could be involving Chukwuemeka. Dharmesh Chef is just, again, his tweet says, as it stands, Jadon Sancho's proposed move to Chelsea from Manchester United is a standalone deal. However, it is understood United have explored a possible move for Chelsea midfielder Carney Chukwuemeka in a separate deal. That would be a similar situation to what we did see with Conor Gallagher and João Felix, which is basically, it's not going to be a swap deal, but these would be separate deals, again, because if Jadon Sancho is to go to Chelsea, Chelsea need to sell someone for that to happen. Chukwuemeka, how do I feel about that? Well, it's more in the profile of the players that United have been looking at, isn't it? 20 years old, attacking midfielder, can play out on the wing. What was his injury record like? Let's have a look at this injury record, because why is there something in me that's saying his injury history is not amazing? And certainly when it comes to sort of finances, that would be interesting to see just how much Man United would be willing to pay. Let's have a look. So last, obviously he's very young. 22-23, missed 4 games, 1 injury. Last season, missed 38 games with 6 injuries. And some of those injuries were, there was a knee injury, a couple of knee injuries, ankle injury, knock, unknown injury. But it's interesting. That is interesting to me, because that says to me that, again, as much as what Erik ten Hag is then saying there about Jadon Sancho, that Manchester United or Dan Ashworth is basically going, look, if we were to do something, we wouldn't be looking at a Raheem Sterling. We'd actually be looking at someone, again, that fits more of our profile. A younger player that can contribute. Is Chukwuemeka that guy? I don't know. And again, how much are we going to be talking here? What kind of fees are they looking at for that? I mean, let me know in the chat. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Carney Chukwuemeka to Manchester United. What do you think about that? Let me know in the chat. It's an interesting one. It's a very, very, very interesting one that Manchester United that could possibly pivot to that. And it's certainly something that I have seen other people saying previously that they would be looking for. Breadwinner goes with 1. J. Brew says 2. Pfeffer Shane says 1. Simon says 2. It's mixed. Very mixed already. Very mixed. Some saying about injuries. Some saying they would have him. I'm more interested in that than I am Raheem Sterling. I will put it that way. I'm more interested in that deal than I am in Raheem Sterling. Purely because it fits Manchester United's profile that they're looking for more. Bit of a concern about the injury previously last season, a couple of knee injuries. But if Manchester United could possibly pull that off, it would be interesting. It would be very interesting. Let us know in the chat. The wrap-up Haven says, and let's be real, that is much of a muchness. It's meaty. Ahmed Deshan says we don't need another bench warmer, Owen. Well, I would disagree there. I would disagree with that one where you say you don't need another bench warmer, because as Erik ten Hag said, you need a squad. You need, as we've seen, you need to get as many players in the squad as you possibly can, really, if it fits within your wage budget. And if, again, from Manchester United's perspective, if they're looking at this as, look, the only way, Juventus is now off the table. The only way we could sell Jadon Sancho is if we get a player from Chelsea. We don't want to get Raheem Sterling, and there's only certain players that are available. We don't want to get Ben Chilwell. Who could we get that kind of fits what we're looking for? Again, the Chukwuemeka one, the injury bit does concern me there. That does concern me. I'm not totally against it. I'm not totally against that. And if United did go down that route, I'm more comfortable with that one than I would be with Raheem Sterling. Far more comfortable, because I would say, well, that fits what Manchester United have been trying to do in this transfer window. And also, we have to be realistic here. You know, it's not going to be like, Jadon Sancho, right, we want Caicedo from you then, or please, or let's get Lavia. Let's do that, because that's not going to happen, is it? So we have to be, let's Cole Palmer, please. We'll have Cole Palmer. That's what we'll do. Yeah, thank you very much. We do have to be realistic in that regard. We'll see how that one develops. This could very well also be a situation that this could just be a situation where it's just one of names that they've explored. It might lead to absolutely nothing. Like I said, the injury record last season, because there's only a couple of really seasons here on the record, was not good. He missed a huge amount of games last season, which would be a massive, massive concern. But he's also very young, so it could be an outlier. We shall see with that one. But that's a very interesting development. We'll see. But then, look, naturally people will be like, but the thing is, we get scared, don't we, with this kind of stuff? Because we go, why are you offering it to us? Why are you offering him to us? What's wrong with him? And then you look at the injury status from last season, you go, is that what's wrong with him? What do you know? What do you know that we don't know about him? Tell us. We should be concerned about that. Interesting. We shall see. But that's already a bit of a mixed reaction. As Just Josh Media, Graphics Guru Visual Ninja says right there in the chat, hit the like button. We've got over 800 people watching. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get those likes up. And let's see if we get any more information about Carney Chukwuemeka, possibly to Manchester United. Maybe that could facilitate this Jadon Sancho deal. And that would be a deadline day signing that we really didn't see coming. I mean, we are going to talk in a little bit about basically Ten Hag giving a reason as to why he wanted to get Manuel Ugarte in, because he feels that we're light. We have said, haven't we, when it comes to midfielders, we feel we're light. Another few options. You know, he can play, was it more of attacking midfielder, but can play as an 8, can play out wide left, I think, as well. It wouldn't be the worst signing, I don't think. I don't think that would be the worst signing. Again, I'm more keen on that one then I'm way more keen on that one than I am for Raheem Sterling. Way more keen with that one. But we just had a press conference from the manager saying he doesn't even know. He thinks Sancho is going to be here. So that one's moving very, very quickly. Where were we at in terms of the press conference as well? Where were we at in terms of the presser? Let's have a look, see where we were at. I've caught with super chats and everything like that. Well, this is going to be a crazy day, guys. It's already been a crazy day. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about team news. Right, Eric was asked about team news. It was a bit of a bold question from the journalist. He sort of said, team news, Eric, tell us. And Eric was like, what, do you want me to give you the whole lineup? Is that what you're looking for? But then was asked about the squad availability. And Ten Hag confirmed, apart from Mason Mount, same squad that's going to be available. He said Mason Mount, as you will have seen, not available for the match. I think that is it. It will be the same squad as last week. So same squad as last week. Hopefully not the same starting 11, one would think, as last week. But that is the team news from the weekend. In terms of people that are going to start, you would hope that the likes of Matthijs de Ligt and others will be available to start the game. Hopefully that will be the case. Another question here, which again, this was kind of littered through this presser, which again was sort of these sort of trip up questions. I want you to say this, so I'm going to ask this question to get you to say something. So the question was put to Erik ten Hag, which was Liverpool. You played them twice at Old Trafford last season. 2 exciting games, one in the cup, one in the league. Is there going to be any differences? What's going to be going on with that? And Ten Hag said, it's always exciting when they come. Looking forward to competing with them. We have a good squad. Have to progress and improve, integrate new players. And also, there was a bit later on, which I'll get to, that was the real slip up, the one I was talking about, is with them sort of saying, oh, it's good that you can play them early. Because you won't want to... You don't want to play them late. They'll be really good by that point. Next was the... Manuel Ugarte. We haven't got an announcement. It's going to come later today. And I think this was from Neil Custis, who asked, what are you getting with Ugarte and not Scott McTominay? And in fairness, I think Ten Hag was right here by basically saying that it's not a comparison. You can't compare. They're different players. And that is true. Manuel Ugarte, in comparison to Scott McTominay, it is no comparison because they're different players. I know for years McTominay played as a DM, but it was very clear and apparent that he wasn't one. And McTominay's role is actually better up as high at the pitch as you can possibly get him. That's not necessarily the case with Ugarte. But when asking for the reasons why we were signing Ugarte, Ten Hag said, we had 3 number 10s. We didn't have any more holding midfielders. We had 1. So that's the idea in signing Manuel Ugarte, is he wanted another holding midfielder. And that's indeed what Manchester United had got. The next question Ten Hag was asked was about this idea of late deals, which you could possibly see. He was asked, Dan Ashworth had said at the Europa League draw, let's wait and see what happens. Do you think there'll be any more incomings, or will there be just Ugarte and that's it? And Ten Hag said, I don't have to go into this because it's already been said. Basically, he said Dan Ashworth said everything. We are always looking for opportunities to have the best squad. So that was... that part of it. Now, this is a part that I did really enjoy. It was Erik ten Hag getting angry at Alan Shearer, which I can always enjoy. So, he was asked about Marcus Rashford, Ten Hag, and he said, Marcus Rashford has a good record against Liverpool, but so far this season, of course, coming out of last season as well, has faced some criticism. Alan Shearer had some criticism for him on Match of the Day and why you took him off and what have you. And Ten Hag, by the way... This quote here, because I've took this quote from the Manchester Evening News, this part here. I will be fascinated to see how many of the media outlets and the journalists actually get the whole quote in this, because Erik ten Hag chose this moment also to have a massive pop at a lot of the media, because he said, everyone gets criticism from you guys. It doesn't matter what we're doing. If I take them off, if we win, if we lose, you're always going to criticize everything we do. And I was like, you are so right, Eric. You are so right with that, because it is so true. If he keeps a player on, he's criticised. If he takes a player off, he's criticised. If we win, we've only got lucky and we didn't play well. If we lose, we're shit. We're going to get relegated. That is what they do. They are critics. They are there to criticise. So I thought, Good for you, Eric, to have a pop back, because you're right, particularly to Samuel Lutkers. He basically said, everything we do, we're always going to get criticised. Everyone gets criticism from you guys. Now, he then said, which is the spiel, he says, I was very happy with Rashi in pre-season against Fulham and against Brighton. I didn't take him off because of his performances. We need rotation. It was stupid analysis, in this case, from this pundit, that being Alan Shearer. Now, obviously, look, Marcus Rashford last season was rubbish. So far this season, he's not been great. I think he's tried harder, but that's the sort of baseline level. It's interesting for Ten Hag to say, look, it wasn't because for this reason that I took him off. I feel like still, if Ahmad hadn't scored, it would have been Ahmad coming off, not Marcus Rashford. But when it comes to anything Alan Shearer says, I think he's right to have a pop back with Alan Shearer. The last time, or one of the last times, Erik ten Hag spoke to Alan Shearer was right after we won the FA Cup. And he decided that that was the great time to ask him why United were so shit, why we'd been so rubbish all season, and if we were going to see him again next season. And you're thinking, time and place. Meanwhile, if it was Manchester City that just won the FA Cup, do you think Alan Shearer would go, hey, Pep, great win, well done for winning today, but do you think Manchester City are even going to be a Premier League club next season? Are they going to get relegated, 115 charges and all that? No, it would be, I'll tell you what, you played great today. What a fantastic team you are. And so I think he's right to have a pop back. Good. They're always having pops at you. Now, when it comes to the Rashford stuff, he's always going to do that in these press conferences. Who isn't? Who isn't going to sit there and defend his players and say, I'm very happy with them? Because guess what? If he does say in that press conference, yeah, I tell you what, Rashi's not been playing well, they'd be all over him again, because that's what they're in there to do. They'd be like, oh, so you're saying you're not happy about Rashford? Why isn't that? The rest of the questions in that press conference would be about, Eric, why do you hate Marcus Rashford? It would be. And then there would be division going, I tell you what, it's bang out of order what Eric said about Rashford there. Or, I can't believe he's doing that about Marcus Rashford. So unprofessional. Get the bold fraud out. He threw him under the bus again. He should put out a statement on social media. It's not worth it. That's how you manage those situations. You praise them, you back them, and you tell the media to piss off at the same time. That's what you do. Because they live for slipping him up. And to be fair, if it was Eric or anyone else in there, they probably would try and slip him up, because that's what they do, because United have to get in the headlines. But he was right. He was right for pushing back on that. And he's right on pushing back. That was one of the things that I did appreciate from him at the end of last season, is eventually he did have enough with some of those people in that room of just sort of going, no, it's a dumb question, or you're just, all you do is criticize. That is it. I'm just going to push back on that. So if Alan Shearer wants to have a pop at one of my players, stupid analysis, all right? In front of the media, why would I go, tell you what, he's bang on. Yeah, Rashi was shit. Of course he's not going to say that, you know? You would just push back on it, particularly from Alan Shearer. You did it with Jamie Carragher last season. And even though some of the Carragher's analysis was right, that was it. We've got more breaking news.
Breaking news.
Here's some breaking news, and Fabrizio Romano has an exclusive. He has said exclusive, Chelsea have submitted an official bid to Manchester United for Jadon Sancho. Fabrizio Romano understands it's an initial loan proposal similar to the terms offered by Juventus, but the total package is higher. Sancho is open and keen to joining Chelsea, so it's up to the clubs/Manchester United to decide. So now, for the first time, it looks like Chelsea have submitted a bid for Jadon Sancho with an initial loan proposal. It's similar to the terms offered by Juventus, but the total package is higher, which is interesting because Manchester United, what they were looking for was that loan, but they wanted that obligation to buy. They wanted an obligation to buy, or if they didn't get that obligation to buy, they were looking for pretty much total coverage of Sancho's salary. So this is quite interesting because Romano's saying here the total package is higher, but what does that mean? What does that mean? Is it they're happy to pay his wages? Does it mean There is an obligation or there is an option possibly for Jadon Sancho. What does that mean? And also, what does that mean when it comes to possible outgoings at Manchester United as well? What does that, Chelsea as well? Raheem Sterling, Carney Chukwuemeka, is that possibly happening? Is that why now they feel confident enough to put this bid in? Deadline day, folks. Deadline day. I'm just here to do a presser. And where's Flex when I need him? Where is he? I mean, it's all going off. I know. Tell me again, Flex. It's all going off. Hey, honestly, it really is. Really is. It's all going off. But that's the latest with Jadon Sancho. Bear in mind again, about it. Ten Hag a few minutes ago, I expect him to stay. He still might not stay. So that's the latest for Sancho. That loan move loan bid proposal has been put to Manchester United. Sancho clearly wants to move to Chelsea, so that's the thing. Also, United have discussed the possibility of Carney Chukwuemeka. That is also a thing. I don't know if that's as far as what Romano is saying now about an official proposal being placed, but everything's up in the air at the moment, folks. So that was what Ten Hag said about the Alan Shearer stuff, and this is when we got into the stuff about the people in the room just doing their very best to slip Ten Hag up with this one. If you want to look at the definition of leading questions, this is what the remainder of the press conference was, right? So this question was, when you came here, you said it was a not good culture. Has Arne Slot had it easier than you to actually fit in because you had to do a lot of work behind the scenes? Has he had it much easier than you because you had more work to do? Erik ten Hag said, we had to build, we had to construct, we had to perform, we had to bring us to higher levels. We did this with transfers, but also bringing academy players into the team. We are still in transition at this stage. We have young players, academy players. Now we have to construct a team for the future. He also said, one of the reasons I wanted to come here is because I knew this would be the most difficult job in my life. A lot of problems we had to sort. I inherited a history of 6 years with no trophies. The dressing room qualities were not right. And then he talked about the rest of it there. What that journalist wanted Erik ten Hag to say there is, yes, Arne Slot has had it easier than me. He's had an easier job than I have had. That's what he wanted to say. That's what he wanted Erik ten Hag to say at Carrington, in the media room right there. He wanted him to say, Arne Slot's had an easier job than me. He's got an easier job than I. Yeah? And if I was manager of Liverpool, I'd be doing just as well at the moment. It's easier there. And you're going, come on. Come on, you know what you want me to say. I know what you're trying to get me to do. Because then, that would be a thing, wouldn't it? That would be the thing that the media going, Slot's had it easy. He's got an easier job. You know, I've got it more difficult here. And then it'll be like, Ten Hag, cry me a river. He's moaning, he's complaining again that he's had it so hard when he's had all of this money to spend. You know what they're trying to do. It's like, oh my God. And it's so like, just again, gross. It's so like, would you, it's actually, he had it easier than you, basically. Is that what you're trying to say? Piss off, honestly. And then he went back to it again after this and goes, your Slot hasn't really had that challenge, isn't it? He hasn't really had that kind of challenge since he's come in. And Ten Hag rightfully said, well, I'm not here to talk about him. Liverpool are in a different phase of their cycle. They've got a team that's probably more mature, players that have played together longer, but I'm not talking about them. I'm not here to talk about Arne Slot. I'm here to talk about Man United. And it was just such a knew what they were trying to do. And then the other question was, because of the job that Arne Slot has taken on, would actually suit you to catch him earlier on in the season, to sort of win that game earlier on in the season. Basically saying, would it be better that you can play him now? Because by the end of the season, because Liverpool are so great and Arne Slot's so great, at the end of the season, you'd never be able to beat Liverpool. Never be able to do it. But now, maybe it's good to catch him. Because again, What they want Erik ten Hag to say is, oh yeah, it'd be really good to play him now because they'll be better later on. And the only way we can beat Liverpool is if they're weakened. Because definitely not later on in the season. We'd have no chance. And then Ten Hag rightfully said, we beat him twice in the second part of last season. What are you talking about? What are you on about? We can always win. We won in the second part of the season. We beat Man City in the FA Cup final last season. So what are we doing here? So in the space of a couple of questions, you've tried to get Erik ten Hag to say, Arne Slot's got an easier job than me. I've got it harder here. And the only way we can beat Liverpool is if we play them earlier on in the season. Because later on, we'll have no chance. Not that will be worse and they'll be better later on in the season. That's what Erik ten Hag should say at that point. What a crock of shit. I mean, he's a better man than I. He's got a thicker skin than mine. Because I'd be like, just what do you want from me? What are you trying to get me to say? Ridiculous. And then once again, that second part when they said, it's better to face him now. And the guy literally said, was it better to face him early than 6 months' time? And Ten Hag was like, well, you can already see some of the stuff that he's doing. So, no. We'll play him later on in the season anyway. We play him twice, home and away. It's how it works. Like, oh, my goodness me. So and I was sitting here getting ready for the show, getting these notes together and whatever. I was like, I can't believe they're asking some of these questions. But might as well just gone, are Liverpool better than you? Say Liverpool. It'd be better if you say Liverpool are better. There you go. Can you say Arne Slot's better than you as well? Yeah, I just would prefer, maybe for a better headline. Can we just do that? Can you say you're definitely going to lose? Can you say you're not ready again? Let's have that. Heaven forbid some real journalism breaks out during it. My goodness. That was the press conference from Erik ten Hag. Obviously, whilst we've been live, we've had another million things happen. We've also had a bid being submitted from Chelsea regarding Jadon Sancho. It's similar. It's a loan offer. It's similar to the valuation that Juventus had submitted, around £6 to £7 million, but the total package is higher. There has been reports of Manchester United looking at Carney Chukwuemeka as well. Again, whether or not that does lead into any of this stuff, we shall see. But a lot is going on. It's certainly going to be a very busy deadline day. Tabrez with a super chat says, Owen, you've been grafting all day. Here's a $5 for a Mackey's burger meal. You deserve it. Hey, I'm on a diet, Tabrez. I appreciate the contribution, but I'm on a diet. I'm optimized. Hopefully, the cheekbones might return one day. You never know. Me and KG were synced up on our Apple Watches, but I appreciate the contribution. And we're not ending here, actually, because we are going to be a reminder live later on this evening. We're going to be live for the... We're going to be doing live for a transfer deadline day stream. You can see it right there on the screen. It's going to be from 9 till the window shuts at 11. And I think, we're going to have people coming in and coming out and getting involved and putting their opinions in. And I think that a lot's going to be going on. I think a lot's going to be happening between now and them too. So, yeah, a lot's going to be going on. Because look, I've been live for what? How long have I been live for? Like 43 minutes. And in that time... Ten Hag said he thinks Sancho's staying. Chelsea put a loan bid in. We're looking at Chukwuemeka. Ugarte still hasn't been announced, so that's going to come soon as well. He's also called Alan Shearer stupid, which, fair enough. So we got a busy day, folks. We've got a busy day here at United View. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. I'm sure, even probably before the transfer deadline day stream, something else will happen, right? It's been one of those days, isn't it? So big up. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. And I'll be probably back very, very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.